All right, what's up? I'm back again. Random pop-up video. This time we're going to look at some statistics, some IQ statistics, and we're going to ask the question if the Republicans are woke on Northeast Asian immigration. Okay, so first we're going to look at some IQ statistics. Now, this stuff gets really contested. It gets really, whenever you start talking about IQ, people automatically get angry and think that you're saying that they are dumb. If you, for instance, if you say that, like on this chart here, it's showing that Russia or China in general is more intelligent than India by several IQ points on average. So does that mean that every person in India has a 99.1 IQ and every single person in China has a 107 IQ? No, it does not. In every country, there are people from 80 to 100 or even higher. There are probably people in China that have like 140 IQ. And it's the same thing in India. There's probably some people that have an 80 IQ. It's just the ratio and percentage of people that have the high IQ, right? Because like even in Nigeria, there's some tribe in Nigeria that has like an average like 120 IQ. Where is Nigeria? I don't remember. Somewhere over here. Maybe it's a little bit more. What? Anyway, you know what I'm saying. So basically, if you get upset and pissed off about math, then you probably are stupid. You probably actually are stupid if you can't understand what an average means, right? It means like you take every single person and then you add it up and then you divide it in half, and that number is the middle number, which is the average, right? So as we can see here, even Canada has a slightly higher IQ than the United States, right? But are they as successful as the United States? No, because there are other factors, biological factors, that dictate how, successful your country is. Testosterone levels, other hormone, like endogenous hormones, things like that. Of course, cultural aspects, that's why, certain African countries that are Christian might be doing better than ones that don't have Christianity in it. Similar with Europe, Europe, excuse me, Europe was thriving more population wise when it was a Christian country. And now that it's moving more towards secularism, you can see birth rates falling. So there's not just one simple answer. But the thing is that this does exist, just like other aspects of human biology. For example, like average heights of different races and groups, average heights of men between women, all of these things are basically like you can say that they're the unique traits that were given to us by God, or, we evolved in different environments and therefore we have different traits. However you want to look at it, right? However you want to look at it, it's not, if you take it as an insult, then it's A, one, because you know that intelligence does lead to success, and B, maybe you feel like you're lacking intelligence because you wouldn't be offended, right, about something that someone was talking about something that you didn't pertain to you, right? Right. If it was like, oh, well, having whatever trait that you have leads to success, then it wouldn't be an insult, right? So it's like, say, for instance, in sports or something like that. Or say, for instance, in, different types of hand manipulations, like certain races, it seems like it's more obvious that they're more tending to be ambidextrous and some aren't. Some races are more likely to be taller. Some races are more likely to gain more body fat, and all these different diverse traits, that humans have. So we can see that on average, Asia, and specifically the northern and eastern region of Asia, Japan, China, and Korea, have some of the highest IQ populations on the planet, right? And then we can look at more corollary data to see that in the United States, when people are basically within one single culture, yes, they're different races, but we all go to school in the same place. We all learn the same things. We all basically have access to the same basic resources. Now, don't get me wrong, some people have access to more resources than others, but the basic resources everyone has access to. And then we can look down here and we can see at the ACT scores and how that correlates to people's IQ, right? And okay, we've got, I don't know why they're adding Middle Eastern people in with white people. Interesting. Is that a separate thing? Okay. So they're saying that the average IQ of a white person is around 100. The average IQ of an African American is 87, right? And then the average IQ of an Asian person is 107, right? It depends on which group. You can see there's slight variation between the groups, but Koreans seem to have very high. Japanese are higher than Japanese. Right? Pakistan is on the low end. They're basically the same as white people. And then coming down here, Philippines, right? It's basically similar. It's like 10 above black people, right? Cambodians. So these are like Southeast Asians here, right? So there is something to be said about this. The sub-equatorial region seems to produce groups of people with lower IQs. We can say God did it. We can say evolution did it. But for sure, we can see that, the warmer the climate is, basically, the lower the average group IQ is of the region where they originated, right? And it's just a fact. It's just a thing that exists, right? So when we're talking about, these trade imbalances and all this other stuff and bringing people here versus offshoring the work, it seems like it's a lose-lose situation, right? Because either we offshore the work, then those factories are in Asia, and then all of the like subsidiary stuff that goes around the factory, like say for instance coffee shops, restaurants, housing, car sales, bus transportation sales, clothing sales, food sales, or restaurants, but like grocery, just all grocery items, and electronic items, which probably come from Asia anyway. But you see, so it's like if they take the factory over there, then all the Chinese, like small subsidiary businesses that surround the factory will get business as opposed to Americans. And so it's just very difficult because, one of the problems is the whole like great replacement thing, and importing people from different countries could be bad or it could be good, depending on if you're looking at it solely from an economic standpoint. It's like here you can see, Asians are definitely contributing a lot to the economy, right? You're saying, right? They're producing like 0.27 or 27% more than white people do, right? where black people are 37% less productive than white people, right? Hispanic people are 26% less productive, right? And you can get mad about this, right? You can get as mad as you want, but this is from the US Census Bureau, right? And it completely correlates with these test scores of different racial groups that are all culturally similar, right? Most of these people are going to be culturally assimilated into the United States if they're taking, high school test, right? That means they went to high school in the United States. So culturally assimilated, right? And we still have similar IQ ratios to that of the origin countries of the races, right? So it's not that difficult really to understand. It's just like you have to get past the concept of someone saying that a group is like this, so therefore you are like that, right? It's like saying that, oh, black people are good at basketball. Does that mean I'm good at basketball? No, I'm not. I'm horrible at it. I mean, I'm alright at defense, but shooting, no good. Right? So what does that mean? Does that mean either so that I have to accept that I'm either not black or somehow, there's some oppression holding me back that I didn't get taught basketball at a proper age, right? No, even though on average black people are good at basketball, I personally am not good at it, right? And it's the same thing for this IQ thing. It's like, okay, just because that group average is lower doesn't mean that you personally are the lowest person in the group. You can actually be above average, because that's what average means. It means it's like in the middle, right? So that you could be above average. But now, going back to the Northeast Asian thing, because Republicans are flipping out about this. They're like, oh, well, we've got to just ban the immigrants, block the immigrants. Immigrants can't come in, right? So what that's going to produce is jobs leaving the country, factories leaving the country and going to Northeast Asia, because those are the people that on average have the intelligence to build these microscopic computer chips that are going to power basically the next generation of technology, right? So it's one of these crazy political catch-22s where you can't do anything really because everyone's getting screwed, and if you change anything, then everything just collapses, right? So, I mean, you can be like, we got to deport them all and all that stuff. And I mean, it's the Indians, definitely. I don't think that they need to be here because they're definitely, close enough to, I would say close enough to like Hispanic and, some like more above average black people, you know. Like it depends. It really depends. You know what I'm saying? So I think, targeting the Indian, like the H-1B visa stuff first is probably going to be basically the most effective, because, oh no, they do have 110 on here. It says 110, huh? But that might be a sampling bias because, only it's more likely that, higher income people are going to be able to immigrate from the United States. So, because when we look at this global average of India, it's like 99. So that could be it could be sampling bias. I mean, it could be sampling bias on all of these, but really, when you look at China and Japan and stuff, it's not really sampling bias. It's pretty close. It's higher. It is higher. It is actually slightly higher on average. So it is like that sampling bias where basically, only, people of higher intelligence or higher income, which could be correlated, are going to be the ones that are going to leave their home country to come to the United States, which with African Americans, that was not the case actually. So that is another thing, you know, because when people are brought over here through, you know, the slave trade or whatever, it wasn't exactly Africa's best and brightest being brought over, you know. Those people still had, you know, stuff. Basically, they had kingdoms and stuff set up, and they might have been as advanced, but they definitely had social structures and they were able to defend themselves in some senses. And so, you know, the people that were sent over, basically, you know, they weren't the best, they weren't the brightest when it came to African slaves, first of all. So that's another sampling bias that, you know, we could keep in consideration. And the fact that, you know, the Asians, they're coming over more in a more positive selection bias, right? There's more of like a positive selection bias on Northeast Asians because they're coming over of their own free will, basically through them succeeding in their own home country first and then coming here, right? Whereas that's different for Africans. It wasn't like, you know, the African slaves were the top guys in Africa and they just came over here because they were having like in fatigue or whatever, you know what I mean? So that's something to think about for everyone, you know. It's like basically like we're all woke now. We've passed the Rubicon. We're all woke. We're all woke. That's just how it is now. But, you know, I put the links for these in the description. You can do your own research on this stuff, but it's pretty much conclusive at this point, you know. And really what the debate is going on is, should we take a hit? Should we take a huge economic hit to block, you know, Asians and Indians from coming over here? I mean, I really don't care. I got storable food and stuff and I'm ready to go. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm ready. I'm pretty much ready for hockey time. I'll last at least like 20, 30 minutes of hockey time. You know what I'm saying? Like, it won't be like the first minute. I'll be like 20 minutes into like hockey mask time. So if we got to do that, let's do it. But, you know, it's just something to think about, really. Like, you know, how fast can we transition? Because, you know, great replacement is a real thing and, you know, it's not cool. I'm not down with it, you know. So don't really know how to end this. It's not really a conclusive video. It's more just something to get you to think about it yourself and research it yourself, because, you know, I'm not a like scientist or anything. I'm just looking at the stuff, you know. I'm just looking at it and it looks like, you know, the Northeast Asians have the skills and the talent to make these like tiny microchips or whatever. And, you know, saying that they're going to train Americans, I mean, it's kind of woke, right? Because it's kind of like saying that like a German engineer is going to come down from Germany and train somebody in the Congo to build the next Mercedes-Benz factory, right? It's kind of the same thing, right? You're saying like, okay, well, because it's like a 10, right? Oh, there's Nigeria. See, it's pretty high, right? There it is. So you're like saying it's like a 10 thing difference, right? And then it's the same thing with China versus like Germany, or say. So it's like basically the same thing. It's like you saying that, oh, do you think that a German engineer can come down to Ivory Coast and train some guy in the jungle how to build the next Mercedes-Benz factory? Is the same thing as a Republican saying, you know, oh, do you think like some guy from China is going to come over to the United States, right, and teach some white guy how to build the next nanoparticle microchip, right? It's the same argument, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, we're all woke now. We're all woke. It's woke world. We've passed clown world. We're now in woke world. So that's it. Hope you guys have a good day, had some fun with that, and do some research on your own. That's it for me, though. Peace.